Welcome everybody to EIS CoreTalk. What's CoreTalk? I hear you ask. Kind of. Well, we're taking InsurTech late night, or I guess it's more late night given the hubby British host and all of that. But the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice we've changed the studio a bit since the trailer. Added some plants in the background, doing our bit for the ozone layer. Scenic, greenery, want people to feel at home. And we've also kind of brought everything in a bit. We've made it a bit more intimate for all of the hot chat that we're going to be having. I know Tony likes that, but I can't have hot chat on my own. That'd be weird. I mean, I could probably make quite a bit of money off OnlyFans doing that, but I digress. I don't want to have the hot chat on my own. So I need to introduce some guests. And my first, his name, according to Urban Dictionary, means to literally inadvertently throw up on one's own shoes. It's Tony Grosso. She's so efficient. She's managed to get the Italian words for hello and goodbye in her surname. It's Samantha Chow. And whilst he may look like Eugene Levy, I'm reliably informed you'll never find him up Schitt's Creek. It is Fazi Zand. That's got to be the coolest name ever on any show I've ever done. It's like a rock star name. I sound like an accountant. And I am working in insurance, I guess, so it figures. But Tony, who I mentioned moments ago, Tony's going to be my co-host on all of the CoreTalk episodes. I feel like it's probably a bit more of a chaperone thing, if I'm honest. He's there to make sure I don't say anything that gets either of us in trouble. But, Tony, if you're going to come along, if you're going to be the co-pilot for this journey, I need to know something really important. Are you the kind of person who comes along, sticks their stinky feet on my dashboard, and listens to Coldplay on repeat for the whole journey? Or have you got a well-thought-out playlist, and more importantly, snacks?
And I am your man. I've been thinking about this. I've been shopping. I am not going to disappoint. We are ready for a road trip. I went out. I got us some nice popcorn for those long drives. I got us a map. It's a little bit general and high level map of Alaska, but we'll figure it out when we get there. I got us some 5-hour energy. So when we're kind of driving along, feeling tired, we could do this. And the piece of resistance here, Ed, when we're driving those long roads and we can't find a place to eat, I've got us nice cans of a Hormel chili for those long drives. We'll never go hungry. Ed, I am your man. Trust me.
I mean, I'll be honest, with my dodgy stomach, I don't think you're going to want me eating chili on a long car journey, but other than that, excellent. You've passed the test. I think we can all agree they are an excellent choice of snacks and ancillary products that he's going to be bringing along. The map, an excellent touch. I don't think I'm going to be in Alaska anytime soon, but we'll see how we get along. So, we need to get on with things today into the first episode of EIS CoreTalk, in which we're going to be debunking the myths of low no code, or low/no code, or low and no code, however you want to put it. We're going to be debunking myths. And I'm going to ask my first question to you, Samantha. I'm going to put you on the spot straight away. What is low no code? I hear it all the time. What is it for a layman like me?
I mean, in the simplest terms, from a business perspective, low code is a tool that helps build the gap between IT and business. It eliminates the need for long requirement documents and creates an iterative environment for the business to work directly with IT. It's simple to use. It's easy to think about. And what it really isn't is the tool that carriers or other organizations can use to do everything with. It is just an iterative development tool that helps to shorten development time and bring that responsibility back onto the business rather than putting it all onto IT at a single time.
And in counter argument, Fazi, what isn't low code?
Well, it for sure isn't a magic wand. It doesn't replace a lot of things that you need to do to produce good applications. For example, having good requirements, having good design, etc. So your IT practices, development practices are still pretty important. Also, since it's sort of a higher level language kind of a thing to communicate with the computer, you need a basically good assortment of functionality. So as a result of it, it is not a general purpose problem solver. So you need to consider the domain that you're trying to build an application for and make sure that it does have enough functionality for your domain. And finally, it does reduce the time to code, but creating an application is not just coding. So you still have to have good practices and allocate good time for all the other things that you need to do to bring an application into life, into production environment, like testing and infrastructure and all these other things that you need.
So from a marketing perspective, Tony, we often hear these terms come out and they get overused. Do you think low code, no code is something of a term that's becoming overhyped?
I wouldn't put it in the realm of Gartner hype cycle because it is real. There is value to it. But where the hype is coming in is with a lot of new technology introductions is that this is the panacea. It's going to solve all problems. And that's where the hype is coming in because there's different tools for different problems. I read a great article that really talked about the different types of code. They called it slow code, low code, and no code. And those are different tools for the different problems that you're trying to face. And I love the way they explained it with a little text-splaining going on. They made the analogy of a house. So slow code is if you're custom building a house from scratch with your architecture and you want it exactly the way that you want it. There's still coding going, that's coding. Low code is when you're perhaps buying the model house, but you're now going to modify it, but within the realms of that model house. Now, no code is you walk into an apartment, you hang up a picture, you maybe paint a wall or something like that, but you're really constrained to what you've bought and what is available in what you bought. And I thought that was a really great way to explain it because let's face it, core technology is not hard because of code. Core technology transformations is hard because it's hard. And there's different tools to solve different problems.
And I'm going to come back to you, Fazi. I want to know, what's the biggest myth about low code that you'd like to debunk?
A couple of things. The biggest one is that you can build anything you want with this technology. The fact of the matter is, if that was the case, all the big players in the market would be using it, but they're not. Microsoft, Apple, etc. They're still using the traditional development languages and so on. So there is a limit to what these things can do. The other side is that anyone can build great applications. Well, it's like saying because you have good, tools in your toolbox, anybody can build a house. That's not true. You still need skills of an architect, skills of a builder, skills of a carpenter, etc., to be able to build this stuff that will pass the test of time and your requirement. And finally, the third one, I would say that it can solve all your problems. No, not all the problems are related to code or coding. A lot of the other issues that you need to resolve around how you deploy your applications and terminology like CI/CD, etc., that you need to be good and experts at to be able to produce good results. So in a way, as my colleague said, it's an advancement, but it's not a general purpose problem solver, and it doesn't solve all your problems.
And Samantha, what about you? What's a myth about low code that you'd like to debunk?
I think the biggest, again, looking at the business perspective, is that anybody can use these tools. They are simple and easy to use, but only if you have that kind of technical background. It doesn't take an IT person, but the average underwriter or marketing person or claims person isn't going to be able to go in and really design something from beginning to end, a new process, a new application. They can't do that all. It takes the IT expertise in the background to turn in what those drag and drop requirements are, that form, those questions that are being asked, it takes the IT person to go back behind that and make sure that the computer knows what to do. So there's a little bit of code that goes into it. But to Fozzie's point, there is no such thing as no code. To the point of the house, there is no such thing as walking in and it's all done. You're going to want to customize or do something in some fashion. Even painting the walls will require some kind of code involved in the background. So you can't expect to go in and toss this over to the average business person and expect they're going to be able to create something from scratch. It just isn't possible.
So Sam, are you saying that the myth of we're going to give this application to our new intern in underwriting, and they're going to build our customer facing, our broker facing module? Are you saying that is a myth?
I am saying that it is a myth. What I'm telling you is that intern who may or may not have some kind of little bit of a technical or BA background could go in and design what they think is the right process because they understand the process, right? They're underwriters, they're experts in knowing how to look at the risk, how to evaluate the risk, what questions to ask, and what rules to put together, and how to bounce people out of these rules and kick them out or lower their rating. But they aren't going to be able to do it all by themselves. They have to be able to work iteratively with the IT functions in order to make that work behind the scenes. So they can lay it out for them. They can give them their expert advice on how that application or those health questions or the reflexiveness of those questions should work. But then it's up to IT to make sure everything behind follows his path.
And Tony, have we seen this kind of thing in other markets before?
We've seen it in other markets, and we've seen it in our same market in a different time period. And I remember in the mid 90s when I was a young programmer, there was code generators, and the promise there was that nobody would need to write code anymore. You just tell the machine what you want it to do, and it's going to generate the code for you. And that was great, and it did that. And it worked really well when you had a prototype or you had a straight through processing. But when you really needed to go in and do something complex and change what the code was doing, it was impossible to work with. So it never really materialized. But that was some of the founding father type of work that really gets into where we are today. And so, we've seen it in other industries, and we've seen it in our own industry in different time periods. And, it's, again, I'm going to come back to these things work great when you have a straight through process, when you're building a prototype. But let's face it, insurance is complex and has a lot of complexities and a lot of different paths and workflows to go through that go in and out of standard workflows. And that's hard to do.
So Samantha, back to you. What should we be looking for in a good low-code solution?
So again, let's start from the business perspective, right? They're not technical people. They need to be able to see a clean screen, something that is extremely intuitive to them, meaning like drag and drop down functionality, easy ways to look at how the change of colors interact with, or the placement of certain questions react to the way that they think through their personal needs, right? Again, is thinking about the underwriter. He knows how that flow needs to look and needs to be able to interact with it in a very clean and seamless vision. On the same side, IT needs to be able to see those changes react in real time. One minor change to code, they need to be able to see how that changes, because to Tony's point, insurance is complex, processes are complex, and today's processes are not tomorrow's, right? So we need to be able to easily, quickly go in and make simple changes to change those processes and be able to see it in real time and react to it again, in a very iteratively and agile fashion. So there's also got to be multiple ways in which to make changes, right? Because we have different types of users in a low code platform, from the business all the way down to the really technical code writer who is reviewing the code that is being captured. So, here at EIS, we developed what we called the UI builder and have developed demos that show both the business side of this, of the forms, the flow, etc., as well as the IT function of this and the different ways in which you can create these forms or processes, etc. And it has to be completely transparent. So you need to be able to see that and watch the changes and know what needs to be done. So a good tool really shows you that transparency, is completely honest in the abilities to make changes and what's entailed in those changes, and gives you multiple ways in which to do it.
And Fozzie, what does a good low-code environment look like for a company?
Right. First of all, you need a good team. That's very important. And as you were saying, Ed, you need to have the right skills on your team. So you need to know UX design. So you need a UX designer that understands how to create good experiences regarding what tools is being used. You need a good infrastructure team. Unless you're building a prototype, you need to integrate with other systems. So you need a good integration platform, etc., and so on. So the team itself and the skills within the team are very important. Domain understanding of what you're trying to solve, what are the options there, etc. So those are all very important. Then in terms of technical infrastructure, you need to consider beyond the simple scope of a prototype. Is what you're choosing, your platform, robust enough to carry you all along in your journey? Because especially in our business, in insurance business, applications last for decades. So be careful what you pick, whether or not this is a unicorn or not. You may have to be settled with something that you need to manage and support over the long run. So that's pretty important in terms of choosing the technology, whether or not it aligns with your architectural direction and your future. Finally, from a domain perspective, even the state of the art in this technology, which is things like GPT-3, etc., they work best in limited domains, and setting up that domain will require a lot of background work, a lot of preparatory work. So when you're choosing a tool, are you going to set that time aside to build the components that you need for your application, or the tool comes with it? Is it familiar, for example, in our case, with insurance business and insurance components ready, come with it, or you have to build all of those yourself with low code, no code, or whatever? So that's pretty important. Does it fit what you need in terms of your business strategy and where you're going? Finally, does it support multiple channels of distribution? Because today you can't just build an application for web or mobile and say you're done. You need to be able to provide access through all these different means and so on. So it is a big decision in terms of what you choose, and you need to really consider the full scope of your needs and your strategy when you pick your solution. And it's usually a toolbox and not just one tool.
So Tony, back to you as our marketing extraordinaire. You liked to post of mine recently and commented on it about getting rid of all the meaningless hyperbole in marketing. So I challenge you, give me your best value proposition or elevator pitch of what low code really is.
First, Ed, I got to thank you. You're like my only follower on LinkedIn. So first of all, I appreciate that. But So, what I want to say is, low code does help democratize development, right? We've talked about that. It reminds me of that movie Office Space from, I think, the 90s, early 2000s, where the guy, his job was to take the requirements from the business person, bring them to IT, and he was a people person. Great movie if you haven't seen that. Still holds a test of time. But like we've been talking about, you can't abdicate the responsibilities of good software development. Low code helps reduce the friction points in developing software. But let's face it, writing code is not the obstacle to great software. It's a friction point for sure, but it is not the impediment to great software. So I would say it this way, Ed. I would say that no code being the panacea to great software development, that myth has now been debunked.
Thank you very much, Tony. It was a long elevator ride. I think it was top floor, definitely, but very comprehensive. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. In fact, I'm going to give all my answers 10 out of 10 today. My guests were fantastic, but unfortunately, we've run out of time now. So we've got to draw things to a close, but you'll have heard Samantha mention earlier, there's a great little treat for you, a little demo use case to have a look at of low code, no code in action. So please get a pen. Quick, rush, run, grab a pen, bit of paper. And you could just pause things and it's at the bottom of the screen, but I wanted to get your heartbeat racing a bit of a panic, sense of excitement at the end rather than at the beginning. It's how I roll. But please visit eisgroup.com/CoreTalk. And not only will you be able to see that demo use case, but you'll also be able to subscribe to episode 1, 2, 3. Realistically, I'm going to be cancelled by episode 4, but that's fine. You can like, you can comment, you can share, you can tell us what you'd like to see on the next episode. You can tell us who you'd like to see on the episode. But for now, I've got to thank my amazing guests. Thank you to Tony, thank you to Samantha, and thank you to Farzi. Thank you to you for watching and humouring me. But unfortunately, we're out of time, and for now, we will see you on the next one.